Linda's going to be back on Monday. We get to change the song and the affirmation. Please be seated. I want to just say good morning to all those who showed up since I last said good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Yes. It's a wonderful day today. I like, as what my kid's dad used to call daylight wasting time. I really do like this time zone, and I seem to be much more productive because I get up earlier in the morning. So I kind of like it, and I like the idea that it gets darker earlier. I know maybe that doesn't work for a lot of people who work full time and then go home at night, but I do like it. I want to welcome anyone who's on the live stream today, no matter where you are, what you're doing. You are part of our center today, and we welcome you. And we would like you to know that we would like to hear from you. If you have a mind to share with us about how you're enjoying the live stream, we'd like to know about that. November, the theme for November is called silence. And today's talk is called Stillness Beyond the Thinking Mind. And this was a phrase that was coined by Eckhart Tolle both in The Power of Now and A New Earth, two of his the books that he's written. New Earth is a little easier to read if you want to try him out for the first time. The Power of Now is a little deep for a first-time read, perhaps. I also want to add that it is Thanksgiving month as well, and we are in gratitude for the rich blessings that we have at this center and all of those we've received throughout the year. Our annual Thanksgiving Eve service this year is being held at the Thousand Oaks Latter-day Saints Church on Herbs Road. And this is a first. They've never done it before. Many denominations will be presenting that night, and our choir will be singing along with those from other faith traditions in the Conejo Valley. So it plans to be a really wonderful night. They do have, I think, 1,000 seats in their main sanctuary, so no one would be turned away for coming to that. Just put it on your calendar as a reminder, Thanksgiving Eve at 7 o'clock. So stillness beyond the thinking mind, what does that mean? Eckhart Tolle was one of the more recent authors to explore this idea on the interviews that he did on the Oprah Winfrey Show and in his books, as I said, The Power of Now and A New Earth. He said, more and more people are beginning to realize a liberating truth. It is possible to step out of the continual thinking and into a higher state of awareness rooted in the present moment. We are invited to usher in a new state of consciousness by taking ourselves away from the mundane day-to-day business of the world and into an awareness of the power and presence of God in the present moment. And we do that through a meditation. The interesting thing is, beginning tomorrow morning, if you don't know, I don't have the website handy, but you can go on the Oprah Winfrey website and log on. Tomorrow morning, Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey are starting another 21-day meditation program. And if you haven't done that before, this is the most wonderful opportunity to kind of get yourself in the flow of a meditation process. It's only about 20 minutes out of your morning, including the brief message that both Oprah and give at the start. And this one is called The Energy of Attraction, Manifesting Your Best Life. And I thought this was a wonderful one for November. If you've never meditated before, this would be a great way to get started. It doesn't cost a thing. This is the most wonderful part about it, is you can go online and register, and it doesn't cost a thing. Although, after it's over with, you'll get inundated with offers to buy all kinds of stuff. So you can just sort of ignore that if you want to. The subconscious mind was discovered by Anton Mesmer and explored and explained in detail by Sigmund Freud. Anton Mesmer was the father of hypnotism, hence the word mesmerize that has been coined to address what he did with people in the exploration of deeply embedded subconscious beliefs. The creative aspect of our teaching, the science of mind, using the subconscious mind has been part of every metaphysician's learning to generate what we want out of life. John alluded to that in his creative thought this morning. He used affirmations, and affirmations are kind of like a mesmerizing process, because if we use the same affirmation over and over again, the mind can't think two thoughts at once, and so we're kind of really in the present moment with it. And when Mesmer and Freud did their work in this area, it was discovered that while old-time religion believed we were mostly body, their work showed that we were actually predominantly mental and emotional beings. And these revelations, Raymond Charles Barker says in one of his books, should have produced great changes in every religious belief, but they didn't. Most older religions based their dogma on the fact that human beings were primarily body. Morality then was based on what people did or did not do with their bodies. Barker says that religion considered someone virtuous if they followed the 10 Commandments. If one didn't kill, commit adultery, swear, or get drunk too often, that person could be called a Christian. I thought that was an interesting definition of a Christian, so I thought I'd share that with you. Not exactly what we've been led to believe. But in those early days, and even during the time that I was growing up in the Catholic Church, we were told that a person's body and its desires were the source of trouble. We heard that time and time again from the priests and nuns. Jesus, 2,000 years ahead of his time, taught that the individual was mind in action, he actually did, and that the body could not do wrong unless the mind was negative. Now, how did it get from that to what the standard Christian belief was? Oh, big distance between there, and a lot of input from a lot of people who wanted to control a lot of other people. He said that the man who looked upon another man's wife with immoral thoughts was just as immoral as the man who actually committed the act. Thus, you will remember our beloved Jimmy Carter's admission that he had lusted in his heart over another woman and begged forgiveness for his sins. That's where he got that from. Interesting, huh? So I digress just a little bit. But stillness beyond the thinking mind is the major creative power in our lives. Stillness is the major creative power in our lives. We are 90% subconscious in the way we handle life. Just about everything we do is accomplished through the work of the subconscious mind. The interaction of choosing mind, the conscious mind, and the servant mind, which is the subconscious mind, explain and determine our experience. The subconscious mind doesn't know to do anything. It just receives the impress of our thought and acts upon it. It's impersonal, doesn't care one way or the other. What I decide with the conscious mind is produced by my subconscious mind and shows up in my experience of life. So what I decide with the conscious mind is produced by my subconscious mind and shows up as the experience of my life with unfailing accuracy when I am in the stillness beyond the thinking mind. Now, this is an important concept here. Barker says that if we fail to decide an issue consciously, our subconscious mind takes the accumulated decisions of our years of living and produces an experience exactly like unto them. Now, we wonder why we think we're thinking something new, but we get the same results we've always got, right? So years ago, as an example, I worked for a man in the insurance business who regularly sold, he was in the $1 Million Round Table, they called it, and he regularly sold $1 million of insurance every year, like clockwork. The applications came in and we processed them, and this was his comfort zone, $1 million. He did it year after year after year after year. Now, I left to have my second child, and when I didn't go back to work, and at that point, I decided not to go back to work. I stayed home and had a daycare for a little while. Now, that was crazy making, but when Nathan was about 2, Don decided that he was going to retire from the insurance business. But before doing so, he wanted to be part of this $3 million roundtable. He'd never done this before. And so he thought the last year in the insurance business, he would work like crazy and be a part of this $3 million roundtable. He asked me if I'd come back to work and for this 9 months to ensure his success, because I knew the inside and outside and all around of what he was doing in this, and I was exceptional at my job. I really was. I asked for what I thought was the moon at that time, and Don said yes. And I put Nathan in daycare and went back to work. Not only did Don succeed in accomplishing his goal, but he even went over the $3 million by about $200,000. I asked him why he didn't do this earlier in his career. And he said something so interesting. He explained, I didn't want to go over the $1 million because I knew that they'd expect me to do it again the next year. This time, there's no next year because I'm retiring, so I went for it. Interesting, huh? What we decide with the conscious mind is produced and formed by the subconscious mind, or through the subconscious mind, rather. And I know that there are probably many of you here today who can cite their own examples of this having happened in their life. Don was an average person. He really was. A wonderful man to work for, he was a wonderful man to work for. And caught myself on that one. I was going to judge for a moment. Wasn't that interesting? But he was controlled by his own self-imposed law of averages. For all those years in the insurance business, he did $1 million like clockwork. Life requires decision as well as desire. Hence John's creative thought this morning. And when the decision and the desire mesh, there is no stopping us. This is the beauty of this teaching. This is just such an exceptional idea. Unless we exercise the spiritual gifts of desire plus decision, we will remain ineffective people. We will just be average. Tully says, when we lose touch with the inner stillness, we lose touch with ourselves. When we lose touch with ourselves, we lose touch with the world. Our innermost sense of self, of who we are, is inseparable from the stillness. This is the I am that is deeper than name and form. So stillness is our essential nature. So what is stillness? He goes on to say, it is the inner space of awareness in which the words, I am speaking today, for instance, are being perceived and become thoughts. Without that awareness, there would be no perception, no thoughts, or no world. I think that's just fascinating. When we give specific direction to the innermost part of our being, we make choices that are for the highest and best good of ourselves. And we become a vital and creative outlet for the mind of God. This is our job as religious scientists, is to be very specific in the choices that we make. I'll speak for myself when I say that unless I spend some time in quiet contemplation on a daily basis, my choices might not be the greatest choices for my world or the world at large. I've seen that happen. And I've had some days where I get up and I hit the floor running. I know some of us have had that experience. And then all of a sudden, things seem to be going a little haywire. They seem to be going sideways instead of forward. And I realized it was the giving up my meditation for that morning in favor of something practical that ended up having me feel the way I did. And so I step back for a few minutes, I go take some quiet time, and I'm refreshed and I can move on with everything. Stillness is our essential nature, as Tolle so beautifully says, and unless the conscious mind is motivated by spiritual thinking, the stillness and the high ideals, it will continue to feed the subconscious average impressions of our past thinking, which will continue to create a life experience with only average results. Now, a few months back, I did a talk going from awesome to average. I mean, going from average to awesome. If you came to that other talk, that's probably why you're not here today. Anyway, going from average to awesome. And it's based on a book by John Acuff called Start Period. And I did a class at the beginning of the year on this. And the people who came to that class, you know, what they moved out of the average mentality into the awesome mentality. And some of them had tremendously low glass ceilings to the good that they wanted to experience in their lives. And that changed miraculously by working on this part of who they were. It really has to be that way. We have to be the ones to remove the glass ceiling, because the glass ceiling is always self-imposed. You know, that's why I like Les Brown so much. When you see the trajectory of his life and his accomplishments and how he gives back to so many, many people for the gifts that he's received, it's no wonder that he is where he is today. We have this incredible teaching, and there are some of Les's followers who didn't even know that he was associated in any way with a spiritual philosophy. We have Joe Dispenza coming in January, and his whole profile is exactly what Ernest Holmes was teaching 75 years ago in Creative Mind and Success. Joe is a contemporary who's teaching Ernest Holmes to millions of people around the country. We had James Van Praagh a while ago, and when he started out his time with us, that first time he was here, he did a 40-minute talk quoting Ernest Holmes chapter and verse. So these people are all steeped in this philosophy, and they're going out into the world. And when James Van Praagh did this, he did it before he talked to the dead people. So he had people all primed and ready to believe what he was going to say. When I am in the stillness, the Spirit of God enters my soul, and I'm absolved in those few moments of any wrong beliefs that I might have had, all problems that I might be experiencing, and all challenges that I'm having in my life. 20 minutes out of my day, that's all it takes. I am in the quiet, and I am in no way compromised by the world, the material world. What I found when I began my transcendental meditation journey is that the more I held to this routine on the daily basis, the easier life got for me. I found that I was doing what Raymond Charles Barker suggests, in that I was choosing more creative God ideas than not. And I was delivering those ideas to my subconscious mind where they were acted upon, and my life showed a changed experience. Anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. The creative mind is everywhere and evenly distributed and acts through all creation with even purpose and intent. It's a level playing field for everyone here today, a totally level playing field. It is there for me, it's there for you, it is there for all of us. There's no more God where I am than where you are. All of God is equally present in all of us, regardless of who we are. If we are not demonstrating wealth and health, loving relationships, and passionate work, then we have not been in the stillness beyond the thinking mind. That's just the way it is. We are still trying to manipulate the universe at the effect level. And because we think we can, our lives may be desperately lacking. That came up really big time in Living Your Life Purpose on Tuesday night with Reverend Les DeMarco, is that, you know, when we're meditating, we're not meditating to do something or to get something. We are simply meditating to be in the stillness. And that's it. As Barker says, the Lord God reigns, but only the wise in mind let that perfect action be in them. The day-to-day mundane tasks of life will never produce spiritual evolution. Listen to me. The day-to-day mundane tasks of life will never produce spiritual evolution. Yes, those things need to be done, but the mental attitude we have while doing them determines whether we're on the pathway of spirit or on the path of making do or getting by. Creative ideas can never make their appearance through unhappy states of mind. That's a silver bullet one. You got to bite on it. Creative ideas can never make their appearance through unhappy states of mind. This is the month of Thanksgiving. Surely we will all have something to be thankful for and something to appreciate in the present moment. And what I appreciate most of all is that stillness that I have on a daily basis. Because in that few moments, 20 minutes or so, it'll be more now because I'm going to be doing the Deepak and Oprah event in the morning as well. But I get to think differently because of that. And I get to act differently because of that. I get to know that because I have chosen to be in the stillness on a regular basis, that my life experience has been changed for the better, and all is well in my world, knowing that with God, all things are possible. Will you join me in consciousness, please? And as we go within, we do go within to that stillness, to that perfect place of peace. It is the inner sanctuary, the sanctuary that we carry with us wherever we go, whatever it is that we're doing. And when we take a few moments in our daytime to go into the stillness and get quiet for just a few moments, it makes everything so much easier. There is something so serene and harmonious about the meditative process, that when we do this consciously, something happens at a deeply subconscious level. And while we never get rid of anything that we have subjectified or that is in the subconscious mind, what we are doing through this idea called meditation and the stillness is we are creating better and different affirmations for us to grab hold of. And so I know today that as I move through my life, which is diametrically opposed to the way it was when I first started this teaching, I know that I have something to look forward to tomorrow, because tomorrow is also different than today. In this present moment, there is peace. In this present moment, there is harmony. In this present moment, there is tranquility. And when I call upon it on a daily basis, my life gets easier. I handle the problems on a much better level, and my physical body responds accordingly. And so I know today for each and every one of us that it is an experiment in truth to go on and do this Oprah and Deepak meditation, but it is an experiment worthwhile. And as I engage in something that is worthwhile for me, it is not only worthwhile for me on an individual level, but it changes something in my world. I know this to be the truth today. I accept this as the truth. I let it be so, and together we say, and so it is. And Mitch, you have music for us.